before AI came about, WebMD was all over the place, and you could go to Google and go to WebMD and put in your symptoms, and oh, it might be this. We're just today really trying to unpack, hey, are there benefits? Is there something about this? Yes, it might be a snack and those kind of things. But what I do see maybe as a benefit, I don't think it's good to replace regular therapy, but I do see as one of the benefits, if people are apprehensive that AI might get them to go, maybe I do need to go talk to someone. Hello, Shannon.
Hi, Chico.
I like the countdown that we have right here on Riverside.
I know people can't see it. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, and then
1. Here we go.
yes. Okay, so it's a pretty day in Austin. We have made it through. I mean, in Austin. I was staring at that poster picture we have that says in Austin. We are in Dallas, and we are post spring break. And
we didn't do anything for spring break.
I know, but we got one kid. We dog sat. That's what I did for spring break.
I like how you say it's post spring break. I mean, where our youngest is a senior in college. He did do spring break. We didn't go with him.
Listen, what I'm saying is that for most everyone, especially by the time this airs, it is post spring break. So everybody's made it through spring break, regardless of their age, stage, marital status, whatever. They've made it through spring break time. In fact, a little known fact that you probably won't appreciate, but other moms out there listening will appreciate, and women, that during spring break time, it is the most awesome time to be in Dallas. You can go to all the stores you want to go to. The grocery stores are empty. You get to kind of like cruise around town and find parking places everywhere. It's actually
no. I actually agree with you.
Outstanding.
It's actually driving to my office is awesome. There's no traffic. I mean, everything is. So when you say spring break, when you look at it that way, I would concur with you that the traffic is lighter. The getting into restaurants is lighter. The running to the store is
your work
easier.
schedule is lighter. It's like the week between Christmas and New Year's, actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everybody kind of takes off, and you get a lot of out of the office replies to your emails, and I'm kind of okay for that. I'm here for that.
I concur. I think it's good. I definitely.
That's what I mean is that,
agree with that.
Today we are going to be entering into Maycember, as you didn't coin it, but I heard you say it, and I'm like, I don't know what he knows about Maycember, but I know a lot about Maycember. It's just a busy, busy time of year.
Yeah, I didn't coin it. I've heard someone else coin it. But today, I'm excited about today. Yes, it's a beautiful day outside. So if you're listening, you're not going to listen today. But we just wanted to say we're enjoying this nice Sunday afternoon and thought, man, we got some thoughts happening. We've done some of our own little research, and we really want to kind of go into this episode and unpack some things that we're still learning about.
Right.
And so,
a lot of the thoughts have been spurred on by our kids, just kind of how the world is rolling out, especially having one that is about to graduate from college and one that has been in the work world for 4 years, which is crazy. So we're going to talk a little bit about AI, artificial intelligence. And the reason that we've both individually been thinking about all these things is because, so for my youngest that's graduating from college, there's all this talk now about AI taking over certain careers and things like that. And so it's kind of like if you're graduating and trying to enter the workforce, you're thinking, well, should I go to school to learn this or that? Because what if AI takes over that job? Or What if AI can't take over that particular job and then that'll be a great job to have? Like, it's just, and here AI is just sitting there like waiting to please you, waiting to ask a question and all of those kind of things. We've just been doing a lot of thinking about AI and how we don't know a whole lot about it. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. And so it spurred on from our kids. It also spurred on from, in my private practice, a lot of people, come in, and especially in couples therapy and stuff like that, are using AI sometimes in between therapy, sometimes to check what's going on. Sometimes people aren't even coming into therapy. So we're going to talk really about AI as it relates to therapy, to the world.
Yes. And it especially, it comes in for me with coaching, because people are like, I can just use AI for coaching and all of that kind of stuff. And we both admit we use AI. So I definitely see the value in it or whatever, but it's just understanding how it connects you or doesn't connect you or whatever. So we're going to talk about that, right? Along with other individuals and couples, we try to find shows to watch, so we generally have trouble like picking shows and trying to figure out what shows to watch and all that kind of stuff. So we have been watching a show recently where one of the characters is a computer hacker and knows a lot about AI and the computer hacking. And she was married to a person that was also a hacker and whatever. And that person passed away. Okay. And they're a young couple. The person that died had set up this program that she could interact like on video, like I am right now. Like you could be, if I died and there was a program set up where you could actually still visit with me in real time. You could just say, "Oh, Shannon, how was your day?" And the AI generated me could answer your questions and I could be in this, and you could visualize, it would be like a video of me, an AI made video of me, but I would be dead.
Yes, and what it was this woman. It's called Scarpetta, and so these are extra characters, not the main character in the 7 series that we just finished.
I didn't want to really recommend and talk about the series because I think it's kind of dark. But anyway,
it is dark. But what it was though is when you watch it, the AI generated person that created this platform, she ends up dying, but all her information was gathered over several years of her personality. And so all of a sudden the AI, the artificial intelligence,
would answer according to her personality and
prior to her
and
death.
Exactly.
And so she was very engaging, but her significant other who lost this person was just connected to her, even though she was just connected via screen and interaction and stuff like that.
It prolonged the grieving process of actually not being in person on Earth connected to someone. So there was some comfort in that. That's kind of what we're going to talk about, is that there is some comfort in AI, and there can be comfort in between therapy sessions, or if you're trying to use it as a therapist or a coach, you're asking it questions to get some immediate comfort, right? But in the meantime, it's kind of, you're avoiding really working through some things. And AI, I'm told AI is created to please you, to try to be encouraging.
Yeah. And so,
right.
Yeah. And it's also to be helpful. And it's like you and I can sit here and don't know much. We do use AI. I use one platform, Claude, and stuff like that. And so when we're talking about this, is many people are using, I did some research. Many people are using AI for for therapy. There was a study done in 2025, Kantar study of 10,000 global AI users, found that just over half had used AI at least once for emotional or mental well-being. And that's just a study of 10,000 people. So at least one time, half of the people are using at least one time for emotional or mental health well-being. So they're doing that instead of actually interacting face to face. Then they found that 1 in 8 US adolescents and young adults use AI chatbots for mental health advice, while usage is highest among the 18 to 21-year-olds, the ones that are going off to college. And I don't know if this is true. There's no study about it, but I could see those. We're having one that's our youngest is getting ready to graduate. That's an odd time of life. You're not
It's
in high school.
lonely. It can be lonely in a crowd, and not everybody is on the same page with what they want to do with their life. And so it's hard to find connection with somebody. And so I think I saw something about using AI and as therapy and everything. It's like they compared it to like fast food. Like it's good for like a snack or kind of an immediate comfort. If you need to just, drive through and get a snack, then it's a quick way to get some comfort and some encouragement, right?
Yeah, comfort, encouragement, understand. Maybe if it's kind of before AI came about, WebMD was all over the place, and you could go to Google and go to WebMD and put in your symptoms, and it might be this. We're just today really trying to unpack, hey, are there benefits? Is there something about this? Yes, it might be a snack and those kind of things. But what I do see maybe as a benefit, I don't think it's good to replace regular therapy, but I do see as one of the benefits, if people are apprehensive that AI might get them to go, maybe I do need to go talk to someone and stuff like that.
Right, right. Because even in this show that we're watching, they, people close to the couple are concerned after she passes that they are just communicating. Obviously, one's AI and one, they're concerned about it, and no one knows how to do that except for one of the characters goes in and starts talking to the AI created person and said, "You need to shut yourself down," which is that's a little like Terminator, like okay, you're going to tell the robot to shut itself down. It's a little sci-fi ish, but that's kind of where we're going. And based on the knowledge that this AI person program had about the other person, she did not want it used after she passed. She didn't want it used that way. And so telling it to shut itself down was the answer. But then it left the person here really setting into grieving. And then that's when you're really going to need a professional. You'll be in some sort of crisis. And that's where you need real connection, whether that be we've talked about, whether that be, physically, spiritually, or emotionally. I mean, physically, you might have a chemical imbalance of some sort or something and be needing some temporary medical intervention for depression or grieving or things like that. And then it might be emotional where you need some talk therapy. You need a real therapist, not an AI bot that's helping you navigate that. Or it might be spiritually. You might have a huge hole in your heart that only God can fill and comfort. And
let's talk about that, God, fill, and comfort. But before we go to that place, I do want to come back to that. On this little research I did real quick is what is the most common mental health topics people bring to AI are almost 80% it's anxiety, 70% is depression, 70% stress, relationship issues, 41%, low self-esteem, 36%, 28%, and trauma 33%. And so people are there. There's a lot of people that are right now, we know this, that are struggling with anxiety, depression, stress, relationship issues, low self-esteem, trauma. And so we've talked about that in past issues. We're doing therapy, also coaching with people with these issues, and kind of giving them some tools in that area.
I want you to talk about the nonverbal cues and things like that a coach or a therapist can pick up. Talk about that. Like how much of communicate your whole spiel about how much
On
of communication.
communication.
Yes, the
Yes.
percentages and all that stuff. So
Communication, if you look at communication as one, if people come in and talk to you, communication being 100%, okay? If it adds up to 100% as communication, it falls into three categories. And the three categories for communication are words, tone, and body language. Okay.
words,
And that,
tone, and body language. Ask me these questions and walk me through this, and I'll kind of answer them.
okay. And so
How I think.
we do a lot of communication. I think it's a little different when it's, via email or text, because you're not going to see body language there. You can read into tone and words.
But let's talk
Okay.
about general, like, connection, interaction in person or on video or whatever.
Yeah. And so if you're in person,
Communication. So you have
communication
words,
is
tone, and
tone
body
and
language.
body language. And so if you're
Ask me the questions.
most people believe.
No, ask me the questions. What do I believe?
What do you believe, Shannon, is the percentage? If you were to give me
For which category?
If it adds up to 100%, if it adds up to 100%, what percentage is words, what percentage is tone, and what percentage is body language?
I think tone might be up there. I mean, tone's important to me because this is the problem, and I'm going to walk through this. So let me walk through it. Okay. That's the problem with texting and email, is that you don't get tone with that. And I think that makes a lot of difference. So let's give tone. I'm going to give tone 50%. Okay. And then words, I'm going to give, words are probably, see, I have to do math too. Hang on.
And this, on a side note, she really is
I'm
not
really
good
bad
with
with numbers.
And pen. Yes.
Well, I'm good with numbers when it comes to money and stuff, but not when, okay. So
you have 50 left.
Hang on. I know. 50 left. I'm going to say 30% words and 20% body language. How about that?
Okay. So the most common response is 33, 33, 33, and a third to make 100. But I do see a lot of what you're saying. A lot of people do say tone being higher like that and words being high. And then body language is many times the lowest. But here's the crazy thing. From the study, they found that actually body language was the highest.
So like
body
how much?
language is 55%. Tone is the second highest, 38%. So words are only 7%. And so if you look at it as, if I say something to you, Shannon, what are you doing? If I have my hands gripped like that, you're going to think something is, really wrong. And you're going to hear my tone, but you're going to see that. And if I go, hey, Shannon, what are you doing? Like this, do you see the difference in my body language? And so if you can't see it, I was saying when I was a little more intense. Fist clenched, kind of. Jaws
I think you
tightened.
can see it in people's eyeballs too.
You can see it. It's like, okay, so body language has so much. And so if you're relying on AI and you're just sharing words, they might be able to pick up in tone through what the words you're using.
Well, from your personality, maybe they can pick up tone, or they can say, AI can always ask you questions and lead you through tone. Like when you're texting with somebody, they're not going to say, "Are you angry?" ? They can say, AI can say, "Are you sad?" If you're sad, text me that or whatever. But you see what I'm saying? But it's mainly words.
It's mainly words. And so words, but when you're in a traditional therapy setting, or when you're just interacting with your spouse or your kids, is like we all struggle with communication. There's no one that just communicates perfectly. It's learning how. We've talked in previous episodes, about holding space, being vulnerable. You can see the vulnerability. I had breakfast with a good friend a couple weeks ago, and his eyes were tearing up. He was being vulnerable without using a lot of words. It was a really cool, space to be there. It's like, how do we pick up on that? And then that can open up a lot more accessibility to what's really the drivers there. It becomes really powerful. But if we're not having that kind of thing, that's why I really want to get into what you said about a relationship with God. You and I both have a relationship with the Lord and have what we believe to be the Holy Spirit. But a lot of people, I like what you said earlier when we were discussing this. They go, I can't talk to a God, but yet they're talking to an artificial intelligence. What was that you were saying? Help
Well,
me
I was
unpack.
saying, so it was coming from thoughts that I had in church where I was just thinking, oh my gosh, if we're seeking the answers from God in prayer, if we're seeking answers to prayers or for wisdom, if we're praying for wisdom or comfort or peace or joy, as today we were praying for joy and gladness in our lives. And if we're praying for those things, why not, if I'm going to have a relationship with my chat bot, why not enter in things like that, like almost like a prayer to say, tell me, chat bot, where Bible verses are in the Bible, because that's my belief is in the Bible. Show me some verses on peace that surpasses understanding, or comfort if I have a diagnosis, or not to worry, and then rely on the chatbot to pop that stuff up instead of old school. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, God, in my belief system, God creates everything. And so if we can tap into the connection that we're supposed to have with these things, that can be a good thing. And just getting, if I want to enter in those things to the chatbot and then have the, whereas I used to, when I was younger, before cell phones and email and everything else, I would sit there and pray, okay, God, I'm going to open my Bible and just put my finger down. And I'm going to know, did you do that too? And I'm going to know that you led me to that. If I'm genuinely in communion with God at the time and quiet and whatever, and I would just point, and then I would read it, and then sure enough, it would kind of get me through things. And then with the I have Jesus Calling on my phone, the book, Sarah Young. It's awesome, devotional every day. And I don't read it every day, but there are times in my prayer life when I'm led to, it's like, I'm going to go click on Jesus Calling today just to see what it says. And it's always
Exactly what you needed
matches
to
up
hear.
and everything like that. And so it's all about listening, implementing, connecting, and so whereas on one hand, I could say, you can never connect with a robot. You're not going to be, you're missing that human interaction and the nuances of body language, tone, all those things. So I think those are true. But you can use it to further connect with your heart and your mind and your body and your soul. You can use that, but you can't just take what it says and be a robot yourself. I think it can help teach you how to listen to God more. And maybe even it's just entering a you know what, today I'm feeling a little tired and depressed. Can you give me some scripture from the Bible to encourage me? And then let the chatbot do the work or whatever. But I think it's training yourself
Well,
again with that
can I jump in
self
here?
leadership. Yeah.
What I believe is, when you get on, one of the AI platforms and ask it questions about your anxiety, depression, use
Or
use
even
it as a tool.
yes, yes.
Using it as
Because
a
we are
tool.
just talking about it in terms of therapy and whatever. I was about to say
Yeah,
something else, but go ahead.
but
Yeah.
and right now we're talking about it in therapy. Is like, I believe, I really like this statement. We need to listen to the whisper, or the scream will get too loud, and you'll act out of the screen. I believe all of us, Pascal said it in the 14th century, we all have a God-shaped vacuum inside us. And so we're going to wrestle. Life is hard. There's going to be times of suffering, tragedy, all sorts of stuff, depression, anxiety, many things like that. But I think when you can learn how to pray, when you can learn how to seek, that doesn't mean get rid of having therapy and seeking others and having interaction with others. But when you can get to that place of having that quiet time, I believe God does speak to us, maybe not in audible voices, maybe not in other ways, but I think for us, as we're going, man, he put the Holy Spirit in us, and it's those little whispers that a lot of times I don't listen to, and I get back into that fear, that anxiety, that depression, that comparing and stuff like that.
Yes. And you might listen to it, but you don't hear it. That's where the danger, I think, comes from AI, is that you're controlling what you listen to and what you hear, because you're just entering the information and then it's spitting it out. And you're kind of like, I'll take that or leave that, which, by the way, you should do with a therapist and a coach also. You should take what you want. And if it doesn't fit, I mean, that's what they do in doubling for therapy and psychotherapy, psychodrama, or whatever. When you say you're going to double for someone, it is stepping in and saying what they might be feeling or thinking. And then they can say, yes, that works. And so I'll keep that. Or they can say, yeah, no, you missed it or whatever. But it's the connection that's happening that allows you to hear. It's not just about listening. I know what you were saying, but it's not just about listening, it's about hearing. Like you're saying, the whisper. Take the blinders off for just long enough to, like, I've asked AI about certain friendship places, because as an empty nester, all your friendship groups and things like that, they shift a little bit. And I've wanted to handle that with grace, and also being an Enneagram 2, the helper, and a people pleaser and codependent, all of those things, I'm naturally bent towards holding on to relationships maybe longer when they're after their expiration date, because I don't want anyone to not like me, or I like to be needed and all that stuff. I'm getting healthier on all those things, but so I have entered in those things to check myself, but I think that you have to have a certain amount of emotional maturity. I'm not saying I'm super emotionally mature, but I think you have to have a certain amount of emotional maturity to enter in those things, and then have an AI bot tell you back, well, maybe your expectations are too high, and maybe you should try this, and maybe you should try that. And then I can hear that, not just listen, but actually hear it. Then you have to translate it to the
That's the
human
same thing
connection.
with God, is sometimes we got to listen. I like what you're saying, because I asked, the AI platform that I use, would they recommend their platform, Claude, over replacing traditional therapy? And I like what Claude, the AI platform I use, I want to be straightforward. I'm going to read what he responded, or
Okay.
she. I want to be
He or
straightforward.
she. I don't think
Yes.
it's gender. I
I don't
don't
think it's
think
gender.
AI
But
bots have a gender,
yeah,
but go ahead. That's
this
a whole nother
bot,
discussion,
I want
maybe.
to be straightforward with you here. No, I don't recommend using Claude as a replacement for traditional therapy. I wouldn't feel right suggesting otherwise. I really appreciate that. And so, man, if I'm not asking direct questions, if I'm going into therapy, you're going to think, "Hey, is this good?" If you don't ask the platform, "Hey, is this better than traditional therapy?" after you share all your struggles, all your symptoms, everything. "Hey, it sounds like you're struggling with, maybe major depressive disorder or anxiety disorder." If you don't ask, "What do you recommend?" they probably aren't going to say anything. Here's why, though. What I can offer is what Claude is saying: a non-judgmental space to process thoughts anytime, which is good. Helpful understanding of mental health concepts or coping strategies, which is great. Support between therapy sessions, another good thing. A low barrier starting point for someone not ready for formal therapy, you know. And then it goes, what I cannot offer. Once again, what I cannot offer: a clinical diagnosis or treatment plan. Crisis intervention, not equipped for that. Big time. The therapeutic relationship, which research shows is one of the biggest factors in therapy outcomes. And that was Carl Rogers, that they did this huge study on all the different therapeutic modalities. And the number one thing is, that therapeutic alliance with, when you sit down with your therapist, if you feel seen, heard, trusted, it's not much different uh, than a relationship between a husband and a wife. Is like, if you as my wife, if you feel seen and heard and secure, you're much more open as a woman to feel connected to me.
Right. And it also says, in that vein, it says there's a lack of true empathy and therapeutic alliance. So AI cannot genuinely feel or fully replicate the relational aspects crucial for many therapists. So that's kind of what you were saying
Yes.
too. They
And
can't,
so
it can't feel.
it can't feel, but it can't read body language. I mean, that's huge. If body language, if in communication, is 55%, because the deal, Shannon, is I can sit there with someone in my office, and if they're like this and all closed up, it's like, I go, "Hey," I can ask them, "Hey, can you open up your arms and uncross your legs and really now share again?"
Right.
It's like all of a sudden it changes the whole dynamics right there.
Right. Right.
It's like, you seem, I can make an observation and get curious. You seem very, very guarded and closed off right now. What's going on emotionally? Put your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath. It's like all of a sudden you can connect at a different level.
Well, and that's a lot with the somatic, responses and therapy that you miss out with just AI, and that a lot of people, especially our age, don't even know that there's this whole other world of, besides talk therapy, which we've talked about before, but the whole grounding and everything, all the body keeps the score and the somatic breathing and all that.
Yeah, some regulating tools and stuff like
Yes,
that.
yes,
Is
yes.
like, wait a minute. I've been going through my whole life for the last 50 plus 55, 57 years, and I can just do some box breathing and it'll help regulate me.
Right. Right.
Those kind of things are really beneficial. The other thing that Claude said is accountability and continuity a licensed therapist provides. Psychotherapy is a legally protected term. A therapist must be licensed to provide it. There's no such licensing process for AI chatbots, nor any standards to ensure that psychological interventions are provided ethically and competently. So there is no checklist here. And so it's crazy. When used in conjunction with psychotherapy, chatbots can substantially increase the work that occurs outside the therapy sessions,
And it's
supporting homework completion and stuff like that.
yeah, and it's crazy because there are no standards about the responsibility to a robot if they give harmful advice because it's a robot. And so there's no responsibility, whereas you have so much legal, ethical, um whatever, I guess legal and
Moral,
ethical, moral, professional responsibility. There's so much responsibility on licensed therapists to if they do give harmful advice, and it's people are willing to take it from a robot because somebody that has no responsibility. It's just it's all very interesting. I mean, obviously we used AI to do this episode because we looked up these things.
We are neophytes when it comes to this, but I also see, I can step back and see the attraction because it doesn't cost anything to get in there and get some advice. It doesn't cost anything to do some of those things. And the crazy thing is, AI is, I don't want to be gloom and doom and Terminator mentality, but it is taking over. It is really running. It's starting to pick up steam and run the show, and it's going to take away. We didn't even get into jobs and all sorts of things that it's going to address.
Well, I think that enemies want to weaponize it. And I think we have to be aware of that, whether the enemy is physical, emotional, or spiritual. Okay. We're looking at all those. I mean, the enemy could be the devil, the enemy could be another country, the enemy could be an attacker right here, cyber attack on your reputation or your business. Or so there's a physical, emotional, and spiritual cost if it is weaponized, just like everything. But I think people need to be open to the negative consequences and really be on guard, I guess.
But the biggest thing is, I think it cannot replace, like the show we talked about it at the beginning. It cannot replace the interaction of one-on-one or group or stuff like that. But especially one-on-one, it'll not fill in here. And I'm touching my heart. It won't fill in here what we need, what we desire, what we're called to be in community. I go back, you and I, being believers, go back to the beginning. And when you see Adam and Eve, it's not good for man to be alone. We need that companion. We need that helper.
And back to that snack analogy, snacks and fast food are never going to bring you the full nutrients that you need to thrive. They're not going to do that. You can't live on snacks alone. And so you can use it as a tool to actually get your mind thinking more. Then you can ask more questions to another human being, whether it be a therapist or a trusted friend or a sponsor or a community or whatever. Just keep your mind working towards a better outcome for yourself and growth and emotional maturity and joy and gladness, right?
I agree with you. It's like the problem is the way we are as people, especially in our Western culture. I can speak from our Western culture and living here in the U.S. is it goes back to a few of those episodes we did a while back, on the vulnerability gap with women and the loneliness with men. Is yeah, we are big believers in community. We're big believers in connecting with other people. And I'm just saying this in general terms, and I'm not faulting people, but we've used the term we should on people, and we try not to should on ourselves or others. And so when you come to people in your community, for not a therapist, and you expecting some kind of therapeutic relief, they will probably tend to should on you. they'll probably tend, like some examples we gave in the vulnerability gap, those 2 episodes that you talked about, is like their intent was good, but the approach was not what you needed. Most people, I find, don't know how to hold space. Most people don't know how to ask the curious questions. Most people don't know. So I see where AI becomes attractive, because all of a sudden it's like you're not getting shooted on. Claude was saying here is a non-judgmental space to process thoughts. Is like, man, our deal is like, how can you ask for that non-judgmental space with people around you?
Well,
It's
right.
like,
And there's a whole nother topic of the house of healthy vulnerability and
oh, we
all
need to
that.
do that.
Yeah. I mean, have we done that before?
No, we have not done that.
We haven't.
No.
Anyway, so there are things that you don't have to or need to share with everybody in your life to be vulnerable and all that kind of stuff. There's healthy vulnerability and unhealthy vulnerability. And so that can kind of fall into that when people don't know how to hold space or whatever. So again, I think it's good for snacking, and it's a fast track to, I've used it for best ways to celebrate an 80-year-old, you know,
Yeah, those are good.
that
It'll
and
give you some
put in their
ideas when you're getting.
interest, and it gets your mind going. But
Yeah. And so what we're doing is, like, I don't know if in this episode, if you got anything out of it. Hopefully you did, but it's something that we're wrestling with, and we're going, what do I need to look at? What to use, what to throw away, what not to rely on. I guess if I was to sum up this, is don't rely on this, as if you're getting on one of the platforms of AI, that doesn't need to be your therapist.
Right,
If
right,
you are having some big mental health issues, anxiety, depression, loneliness, fear, that is consuming you and taking you away from connecting with others and robbing you of joy,
right,
it's not going to be food that is nourishing. And so what you're saying is, you can get some snacks, but it is not nourishing. It isn't going to address the food that you need to go deeper.
right. Use it where it is meant to be used. Yeah,
All right. Well, hopefully I got some out of it by just
I
spending
do
this
too.
time
It's
with
just
you
like
right now.
yes,
And
yes, it's nice.
it helped me, process some things and think differently as we talked here. When this episode does air, I'm going to go back and listen to this, because I think there were some key takeaways that you brought up that I go, man, I hadn't thought of it that way. So I want to say thank you for that.
Same. Okay, same. So we can go
Uh,
back and listen.
all right.
Okay, well, everybody enjoy, since the first day of spring has come and gone. Enjoy it. Okay,
All right. See ya.
thanks.